Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome. This is episode 9 of the Her Protocol podcast. I'm Raluca, and my guest today is Aniela. How are you, Aniela?
Good, Raluca. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, I've been looking
Um,
forward to meeting you here and to talk about such good topics for women.
yes, we are going to talk about money. I'm so excited. But first, please tell us briefly about yourself and about your work.
Well, I've worn many hats, professional hats, across my life. I have been an NGO leadership volunteer. I've been a digital marketer, and at one point for about 5 years, a hospitality entrepreneur. Currently, I'm a clinical psychologist, a trauma specialized psychotherapist. And each of those worlds that I've been in taught me something completely different about human behavior. But there's a line that unites everything, and it's always the same question. Why do people make the choices they make, especially under pressure?
Oh, that's a good one, right?
Yeah, usually it is.
Um, You told me last week when we talked that we are going to talk about financial psychology. But what does this mean? Financial psychology.
Well, financial psychology is an area of psychology that's not very well known. It's the study of emotional, cognitive, and behavioral relationship we have with money. It's not about budgeting, it's not about, investing advice. It's asking some key questions basically. Why do you sabotage yourself right before a financial breakthrough? Or why does spending feel shameful? Or why does asking for a
Yeah.
raise feel, I don't know, physically dangerous maybe?
And in general, we were taught, at least our generation, that we can't talk about money. We can't talk about the fact that having money is good, right? Money is good, it's not a bad thing, you know?
No.
Please tell me, what are the most common money patterns you see in women over 35?
Well, I want to follow through a bit on the initial thing that you said. Well, money is never just money. It's actually a mirror of our deepest beliefs about safety, worthiness, about love, and personal power. And usually in women over 35, I tend to see three patterns that show up constantly. The first one is like this chronic undercharging. We're talking about women who are highly skilled, but they price themselves far below their value, often without realizing it. And then it's the invisible manager, because a woman usually handles everyone's necessities, children's needs, the household, even financially, but she has no real plan for herself. And the third one would be something that it's like cycle of feast or famine, which is a period of disciplined saving followed by impulsive spending, which is almost always emotionally driven rather than practically explained.
I was thinking that, for instance, when I'm doing something free of charge, when I'm helping a woman, with some pieces of advice or whatever, I feel good about myself. But when I'm in this situation, when I have to actually ask for money, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You know, it's like,
Mhm.
but who am I to ask for money? But I just did the exactly same thing without money, and I helped that woman. But when I have to ask for money, it's like I feel ashamed, or I feel insecure, or the imposter syndrome is like, hello, hello, who are you to ask money for your services? Why is that happening?
Oh, you've mentioned quite a lot of things here, but the things that you mentioned are very common among women. So I would like to actually start with the biggest myth about women and money. And then we can go on to, the imposter syndrome, the caregiver aspect. That's also the basis for which women don't really ask the necessary value of their work. So going back to the biggest myth about women and money, I would like to mention this. It's it's a widespread belief that women are bad with money because they're too emotional. And usually it's quite the opposite, because the woman's emotional intelligence is actually a financial superpower. They tend to be more risk aware and more collaborative and more long term involved in planning and thinking on for the long run. So the real problem isn't actually emotion, it's the stories women were given about money, usually very early in life. Because you cannot logic your way out of a belief you absorbed when you were very little. And this connects to the numerous things you've mentioned about yourself when you help free of charge versus when you're actually supposed to be asking the fair amount for your work. Emotion is
Yeah,
the base of all money mindset that a person can have.
yeah, it's true. And I'm getting frustrated, of course, because in my mind, I know that I can do that thing very well, the service, whatever. But it's like, I can't ask for money.
Mm.
But I know that this is my worth, and I have what it takes to earn money with what I'm doing with my activity.
Mhm.
But I'm just like freeze when I have to ask for money for my work. Or like you said, I'm asking too little. It's like I can't put this higher fee because maybe, I don't know, I don't deserve this fee.
Well, it's all connected.
Is this common in women
It's very
after a
common.
certain age, after 35, for instance? I'm 38 now.
The thing that you mentioned about not being emotionally comfortable to ask the right amount of money for the work you're doing is probably the most common one, the most common tendency women have when it's about financial worth. And this becomes also more present and more visible for women after 35. When they are starting to question themselves, when they are starting to realize that they are doing this, but it's not benefiting them. Because 35 is a very significant threshold. All the social anesthesia is wearing off, which means the busyness, the people pleasing, that mindset of I will figure it out later. So women start asking the harder questions. Is this actually working for me? Where are my priorities in all of this? So professionally, it's a landmark moment. Either up until now she has been successful but feels hollow about it, or she realizes she's been playing small and is tired of it and she's spreading her efforts with no return on investment, basically. But it's also about the biological hormonal shift, which affects risk tolerance and emotional regulation. And this is how the hard questions start forming. Also, the parents get older, maybe the kids get older, the partnerships can, I don't know, change meaning. So, this financial interdependency becomes much more visible and a bit more frightening. That's when women tend to start to think about themselves, their personal future, without it being tied to the necessities of the close ones around.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Mm.
Actually, that is my following question. What psychologically changes for women after 35 when it comes to money?
The major thing about this age, which it doesn't have to be, like precise 35. It can be
Oh, yes,
35
of
to
course.
40. Um,
Hmm.
we are becoming mature about ourselves, which is very important. Also, 35 to 40 is the period in which perimenopause starts to land. It can be brief, it can happen with subtle signs, but everything makes the woman come back to herself, both psychologically and also biologically. And this moment, it's usually a shifting moment. The woman can no longer live the same life. She is tired with everything. She's tired with putting out the effort. She's tired of not getting appreciation, recognition, and the fair amount of money in the end for everything she's contributing to.
I will go back a bit
Mhm.
to our childhood because this, I think, is very important when we are talking about money. And I want to ask you, what childhood phrases shape women's financial mindset as us?
Well, oh God, we are so rich in that. Um, each generation and each geographical area has its own general beliefs about money. And in this part of the world, and also in my work, I can see that there are some phrases that shape our beliefs and our mindset about money more than others because they are permanent and they are always repeating in one way or another. The first one would be money doesn't grow on trees. Well, this type of expression actually programs scarcity as a permanent reality, as something you cannot change. And then, as children, we can hear, we're not made of money, which ties the financial shame to asking for money for whatever we are entitled to have. The most important one that women and girls are taught is that we are not allowed to be greedy. So desiring more becomes a moral problem. Okay, so the third expression would be don't be greedy. Girls and later on women are being taught that they need to be caregivers. And a caregiver, by definition, cannot be greedy and cannot want things for himself, herself. So when you desire more, you find yourself in a moral issue. The fourth one would be money is the root of all evil, and wealth
Yeah, of course.
becomes dangerous, becomes a situation to avoid. And the last one, which is not necessarily money related, but it has a very big impact, is this: who do you think you are? So, ambition gets punished early on. And this is a phrase that usually girls get, and later on women. Men and boys are never asked, who do you think you are to want this, to dream of this? Women are raised with an absolute have to attached on their backs. We have to give, we have to be for the other, we have to do. Men have maybe, I
You
don't
have
know,
to play small, you have to not to upset anyone, you have to just be quiet,
be
don't
nice.
speak loudly, it's like, yes, be nice.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is not something that was made to us on purpose. It's about society and the way it has evolved over centuries, because this was our role. Fortunately, we are in an era where we can do things differently. And all these expressions, they were not said with malice. Parents were simply passing on their experience and their views of the world that worked for their generation. But the child doesn't actually make this difference. A child simply absorbs the rules of the parents, of the close ones around, and a child will take those rules and make them absolute truth later in life.
Yes, and I think a general mindset
Yeah,
when it comes to money, right?
yeah.
Why do so many women feel guilty spending money? For instance, I don't have this issue because I don't usually spend money on clothing, bags, shoes, because owning too much gives me anxiety. So I can't own too many objects, clothing, shoes, whatever. But I know for sure that so many women are dealing with this guilt of spending money for themselves, not for, I know, the kids, the households, I know, whatever. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Well, first of all, it's proven that a clean space with not so many objects is usually a space that's very comfortable for the mind to operate in. So it doesn't get sidetracked. This can be a reason, of course, for which you're preferring this.
Mm-hmm.
And women tend to feel guilty about spending on themselves because of pretty much the same reason I mentioned early. We were socialized to be relational, not to be self-directed. Self-directedness means to also look inside and want and decide things for ourselves. Because historically speaking, a woman's value has been measured by how much she gives to pretty much anyone around her. Spending on herself tends to disrupt this caregiver identity because initially it can feel selfish or even dangerous to some of the relationships around her. Also, spending on yourself as a woman requires believing about yourself that you are worth it. But you see, even highly accomplished women carry a very quiet and a very persistent doubt over how much they are worth it. And guilt over spending is just self-worth speaking in the language of euros or cents or whatever the national currency may be.
Is there a connection between self-worth and income?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Usually, an income is often a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve, of not of what you're capable of. Because in my practice, I saw women with extraordinary skill sets who charge the bare minimum, who don't negotiate, or who accept the first offer. And this is not a lack of intelligence, this is just an internalized financial ceiling, which is completely tied to the inner self-worth. And the painful paradox of this is that sometimes when women start to earn more, anxiety spikes instead of going down because now they have to maintain it. And deep down, there's a voice saying they will have to figure out that you don't deserve this. The world around you will figure out that you don't deserve this. So income without inner work on self-worth is very fragile. It's a financial status that's very hard to maintain. It comes with a lot of decision fatigue, with a lot of self-doubt. It's something that you simply cannot maintain if you don't know where your wound is coming from when it comes to self-worth.
Yes, I can totally resonate with what you are saying because it's also my reality. I just told you that it's very hard for me to do basically the same job free of charge and when asking for money. But this is like because I had to work so much on myself and to gain my self-worth and my self-confidence, and I'm still a work in progress. Of course, I did it in the sense that now I have the self-confidence to work for myself and not for someone else. But I'm still struggling with putting myself out there, but only when it comes to asking for money.
Mm.
So now I have the self-confidence to even to do this podcast or to do some projects here in Spain where I'm living now. But when it comes to money, so it's actually something related with money only. This is my main issue.
Mm.
When I have to ask for money, something is like, mm, like, I can't ask for this fee. Maybe it's too much. But who says that is too much?
You will never know if you don't ask.
My thoughts exactly. But when I'm talking with someone else and that woman is like, look, I want to do this and I want to charge this fee. And I'm like, are you insane? Ask for more, you deserve more. So it's actually something related to my own person.
Of course.
Because when it comes to another person, it's like you have to ask for more. You deserve more. You are so smart, so intelligent. You have so many skills. So yeah, I can totally resonate with what you just told me about the relation between self-worth and income.
Yeah. And
And
it's
well,
true for everyone. It's true from everyone at one stage.
yeah, but I can feel it more now at 38 than I felt it when I was 20, for instance.
Of course.
When I was 20, even if my self-confidence was way lower, I was like, I need to prove that I'm so good and so smart, and I really deserve this salary because back then I had a job.
Mhm.
So it's like the other way around. Now I have more self-confidence, but it's a bit harder to ask for money. I don't know why, but this is my reality now.
It can be about a lot of things. It can be about the stories you are told in relation to money while growing up. It can be about past experience. It can be about an internalized view of of how much a woman is allowed to have. It can be about a lot of things. It's never usually just about one, because we're
One.
made of
Mm-hmm.
pieces that combine into who we are.
Yes, that's true. And actually, my next question is about what financial pattern do you see most often in high achieving women?
Oh,
You have a list,
well,
right, of patterns?
well. Hmm.
Because I think maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea. I think that when we are talking about high achieving women, I think they tend to have even more issues than women who don't want or don't need to dream that big.
Hmm. Well, let me point out something. you directly tied high achieving to having dreams that big.
Because I'm like this. So
Can you
this is
notice
what
this?
I told you. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I, this is
Yeah.
how I roll.
For example, you probably, or many of us, wouldn't associate a high achieving man with having dreams that are too big. But we do believe this about women.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, I'm going to call it strategic self neglect. So, usually, high achieving women are exceptional at building financial security for pretty much everyone around her and completely avoiding her own financial planning. It's like kind of the example that you said. Well, I cannot do and ask and believe this about myself, but I am able to recognize the good and the skills and the values of another woman around me. So
Yeah.
a high achieving woman will be able to know her company's, I don't know, revenue projections intimately, but not have a backup fund for herself. She'll negotiate fiercely for everyone on her team, but she will accept less or whatever she's offered to her personally. Sometimes this can look like generosity, but it's usually self-erasure. It's like an almost pattern. She gets close to a significant financial milestone and then she unconsciously creates a setback. It's okay, my team needs the budget for this, or I will not send that proposal today, or I will postpone emailing about this project that I have in mind and that can be very beneficial to me, or like impulsive decision or sudden loss of motivation. All these, sometimes women perceive them as bad luck or as being in a bad mood. But when it happens, I don't know, often enough, it's a pattern. It's no longer just a mishap.
Yeah. And it's quite sad, actually. It's quite sad because no one is teaching us how we can break these patterns.
Yeah, it's very true.
Okay, we have them. It's like we grew up with all of these patterns because the previous generations, they didn't know to do better. So it's no one to be blamed, but we need to break the patterns at some point.
Yeah. And it's not only about us women breaking the pattern. Men should break the pattern too, especially men who have daughters, because
Yeah.
not only the mother teaches criteria about money, the father also does it. And if a father is able to look at his daughter with the same eyes of possibility later in life as he would look at a young boy, the girls of the next generation will be more financially stable and more financially confident to do things about themselves.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's very true. And I want to ask you another thing. Is fear of financial success a real thing?
Oh, it is. It is.
I have it too. Well, I have many patterns. As you can see, I
Uh,
have it too. So when because I dream big, but at one point I find myself like, if this will be successful, what am I going to do, at that point?
yeah.
So please tell me a bit about this fear.
First of all, no pattern ever comes alone. So women tend to have bits and bits of many financial patterns that are detrimental to them. And usually, being fearful of success tends to go, let's call it, a bit underdiagnosed, because we normalized talking about fear of failure, and we have all sorts of self-help tools for this. But the fear of success is more socially confusing, because we are being trained that success is supposed to be the goal, is supposed to be the thing we all want. Women know, and they are being taught, that success comes with a price that's bigger than the price men pay for success. Success brings visibility, it brings judgment, it can bring envy from the people she loves, it can bring a responsibility that she's not sure she can sustain at the same time with the other roles that she has. You know, the mom role, the partner role, the, I don't know, team leader role. These are a lot to juggle. But also, it can mean to surpass her mother, her sister, her community of women friends. And this can feel like a betrayal deep down, even without realizing it. Because being financially small, or staying financially small, is usually an act of loyalty to the people she came from, is an act of service to the ones that depend on her closely. And the first step would be recognizing that in order to go up financially, you have to do this part of the work where you're allowed and you give yourself the space to see what are the costs and what are the benefits of financial success for you. Because in the end, we are being sold this lie that women can and have to do it all, which is stupid, because no person can ever do it all. So either you, if you want to work more, you're going to have less time with your kids and your husband. If you spend more time with your kids, you're going to do less professionally. So it's all about first realizing the personal cost that it's going to happen. So to me, in order to advance financially as a woman, you have to be very aware of the impact it's going to be happening in all the areas of your life, and being very front with yourself and choosing certain priorities, basically.
Oh, that's very deep, what you just said. Um, Mainly about the relation between your financial success versus the people around you.
Yeah.
And I think that I can see that even on social media, because when you tend to have your own business, when you are owning a business, you know, many of your friends are the first ones who will not support you.
Absolutely.
And I published a post the other day, I can't remember when, about this, and someone told me, that I have a friend and she owns a clothing brand, I think, but I don't like her clothes, and this is why I don't want to share with my friends or my community her brand. Is this making me a bad friend? And I told her, look, you don't like your friend's clothing. It's okay, you can have different tastes, but this doesn't mean that you can't tell other people about her brand, because someone from your community maybe will buy.
Yes.
So you can support your friends even if you don't have the same tastes in food, in clothing, because I suppose when you have friends, you share the same values.
Yeah.
So
Or
if it's not
should be.
something related with, yes, if it's not something related with not having the same values, I don't see why you can't support your friends.
Exactly.
And another person told me that, this doesn't mean that I envy my friends. And I don't know, I didn't say that. You said it. You know?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there
You
are
said
so
it.
many ways in which we can support our friends without liking their profession or their professional choices. Because if you like spending time with a person you call your friend, as much as you disagree or dislike whatever choices she makes professionally, if there is a free, non-burdening way of supporting that friend, from my point of view, it should be done. Because this is friendship in the end. It's like
Exactly. My thought
when
exactly.
you break up with the same guy 3, 4 times and you go to the same girlfriend and complain about it and cry about it. And she's always there, even if she maybe is sick of you doing this and she sees it's not good for you, but she's a good friend. She has a good listening ear. She has her open arms for you, even if she doesn't agree with your, I don't know, love choices. And it's the same with the professions we have, but it's also very true. Sometimes our closest friends will not support us professionally. And in today's world, with all these social platforms, I think supporting businesses of our friends is the easiest thing to do. Like, share a story. It's 24 hours
Exactly.
and it's free of charge. Hit a like. You don't have to read the whole post. You can just hit the like button. Hit the save button. You will never go through the saved, I don't know, album anyway. But just do it because you know it helps. And it's completely free.
Yes, that's true. And this is why I can't really understand. I am, um, I'm sure that maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure that this is more common in women than in men.
Yes.
This is true, right?
Yes. It shows to be true.
And it's so sad because society itself is so unfair when it comes to women. Why would we do this to ourselves?
It's not society
Because it's clear that
necessarily.
we are yes, we are stronger together. And it's not like if I support you, I my self-worth is affected somehow,
Yeah.
because I chose to have a job, for instance, or I chose to have my career. So supporting your job, your business, how does affect me in any way?
I don't think it's society necessarily that gets us here. It's the fact that, at least in this side of Europe, I don't know how it is in the other parts of Europe or other parts of the world, but in this part of Europe, we are taught to fear women. Women are taught to fear women. Um, Women are taught that the other women, even the close ones, are bad, are envious, are judgmental, and that we need to bring a limited part of ourselves into the relationship. We are not brought up to support each other. We are being brought up to fear each other, to disrespect each other, to hide from one another, not to tell the whole story, not to tell how hard it is, because the other one will go and gossip about you. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
it's less and less present in, I don't know, 2026. But if you think of let's say just the past 2 generations, our moms and our grandmas, you had to hide. You had to keep a limited truth to share with the world. You were taught that women are not safe and that women do not progress together and that women should be at the same level. You should not be more than another woman. And as much as we no longer want this, and as much as we have such a huge self-help and emotional industry around us, these things are still very deep down rooted in ourselves, and it will probably take another generation to fully get rid of this.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
Mm,
Now let's talk a bit about couples.
mm,
So, should couples discuss debt, salary, and financial expectations early on?
absolutely. It's one of the most important discussions to have at the beginning of a relationship. First, if the two people agree they are in a relationship and that they are a couple, um, discussions about the future should always include the financial aspect. Um, I know it's going to be uncomfortable because of the initial romance and butterflies in the stomach, but down the road, these things tend to fade a bit, and day-to-day life is also about being practical. When one of the leading causes of relationship breakdown is this financial incompatibility, because it comes from assumptions that were never said out loud. Because maybe the woman assumes they will split everything. But if the man is the higher earner, maybe he will assume he is the leader. If nobody checks on which side of the wallet they stand, they will never know how the future can be built together safely in harmony. Because it's not about the numbers in the bank account, it's about values. What do money represent for each of the partners? What did they grow up seeing? What are their biggest money fears? How are they going to, I don't know, deal with a financial difficulty? These conversations are what are part of what will stabilize a future together.
So, it is a very, very important discussion.
Yes. On the same level with, do we want kids? And if we do, how do we raise them? It's again a thing
Well,
of
yes,
values and principles.
yes, that's true. That's true. Um, how can women recognize financial control or manipulation?
Well, the previous question is the start of the answer. Once you know where each person stands with the
So
money,
you said something about the man being the leader. So if I bring home more money, this means that I have more power over my
no,
wife, for instance.
no. It's about the meaning that the man will give to a higher salary. You can consider yourself emotionally a financial leader simply because you earn much. And if this is seen
Mhm.
as a resource and not a controlling mechanism, it can be positive. And I'm going to give you a quick example. Um, for example, if a woman really wants to be a mom, and she wants to actually spend time with her children in the early years without going back to work too soon. The fact that a man brings more money into the household can be a benefit if both of them can see the value of their effort. If he's okay with this,
Eh, Here, you said something very, very smart. If the both of them see,
yeah,
because actually, if you bring a bigger salary in the household as a man, but you can't see the effort that your wife is putting over there while raising the kids, while maintaining the household, while maintaining herself, like in here, you know?
Yeah. It's
Okay, she doesn't bring the same amount of money, but the effort is similar or
or
even,
even bigger. But
yeah.
always assuming will dig up a very deep hole for each of the persons
Hmm.
who assume. As long as things are openly discussed on the family table, on the couple's table, there is no room for doubt, but there is room for mutual understanding and negotiation in the end. So, yeah, I don't see an issue with the man earning more if there is stability on the roles that each have together. Because money is a resource, money is not the first leadership criteria. It's simply a resource that can make our life better and easier, and that can give us more options.
Yes, this is true. Actually, it's very true, of course, but sometimes money becomes a tool for manipulation
It's true. It's true.
and for control.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
I'm the man, I'm bringing the money,
yeah,
you know? I will say, you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to take care of the kids because I'm the man and I will not do it,
yeah.
you know?
Well, there are
But this,
some,
I think, is also a pattern, right?
of course, of course, everything is a pattern basically. Once it repeats constantly and you kind of
Okay.
end up in the same point or with the same questions, it's a pattern. So, yeah, how to recognize financial control or manipulation as a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Usually it starts small and pretty sophisticated,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some signs. If he handles all the accounts and you have no information about them, it's a red flag. If, as a woman, you have to justify or ask permission for ordinary purchases, yeah, that's another big red flag. If the salary that she brings or her income gets absorbed into joint accounts that she cannot access independently, I would say this is a very big red flag. Because these things tend to be put off and left aside in terms of couples conversation because women want to have peace and harmony, and for this reason sometimes they will avoid asking direct questions. How much do we have in the bank account? What did we spend on in the past 3 months? Let's calculate our budget. And sometimes men, controlling men actually, pardon, controlling men will keep women financially in a blind spot. And this way, a woman tends to believe that she's financially incompetent because controlling men tend to say, nah, it's okay, I took care of it, you wouldn't understand, it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So the woman stops asking and she goes on with the other roles of her life and she will not prioritize this. But it also can go the other way. Receiving money in a generous way can also be very controlling if it comes from a point of leverage. If a controlling man says, I pay for everything, but I decide everything, you just have your budget for, I don't know, personal expenses, it's still a form of control. It's still a form of financial constriction. You are left without the encouragement of doing it on your own. And this is something that every woman should have from her partner. Not being told to do something professionally, but being encouraged to do something financially for herself from her own skills, from her own merit, and from her, I don't know, cognitive skills that she has.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you can feel good about yourself knowing that no matter what happens, you have a financial safety net.
And you have to have one.
Yeah.
And not because maybe the man next to you is a bad person, but because life is very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And you have
That's
to
true.
be financially competent. You have to
Yeah.
be, especially in this 2026, you have to be.
But how can we do that? How can we do that?
Well, first of all, I would set up a basis of small decisions. You cannot change your whole financial future if you
Mhm.
jump into big decisions, because big decisions are never about the main ones. It's about the small steps before that add up to what it looks like from the exterior to a big decision. So first of all, I would look at where my money fears are, what my money damaging beliefs are. And then I would look at my skill set. What am I good at? What I can do good, not perfect, not the best, good. Good is that good enough to earn me an income or a side income or something really small. In this era, we need multiple income streamlines. We have to have
Yeah.
options because professions are no longer rigid as they used to be 40, 60 years ago. So we need to increase our skill base. I know it's tiring to know how to do many things, but if you're not a lawyer, a doctor, someone in the army,
Teacher?
or an engineer, um, everyone else needs to diversify their skill set. Because in case something happens in life, which can happen absolutely, you have to be able to make money fast to keep yourself afloat for a period. This would be the first step. And then, if you have this secured about yourself and you're confident, I can write social media posts. How many can I write? Like this, I don't know, 20 a day. I can write 20 social media posts a day and I can make, I don't know, 200 euros out of it. Well, those 200 euros can keep me fed for 2 weeks, let's say. You have to be very practical. You have to think like a man, very practical. Once you set up the practical layer of yourself, you move on to what am I good at and can bring me a bit of joy.
Bit.
Not
Yeah.
happiness, a bit of joy, which means I can do this and it doesn't take an emotional toll on me. If you have that layer also settled, you move on to the next one. What am I so good at that I can be paid for and enjoy it as much as possible 3 out of 5 days a week? Because no job, no profession, no project on this earth will be enjoyable 100%. So this is how you do it, step by step, layer by layer. You set up the practical foundation, then you move on to the acceptable and slightly enjoyable, and then you move on to what am I good at and I would love to make money out of.
Wow. So many layers. That's it's like a full-time job, just to think about
Yeah,
this financial safety net. But it is very important. It's true.
it's true.
Um, yes, because nowadays, like you said, we are in this constant change. Everything is changing so fast, and with this AI madness nowadays, is like, am I going to have my job tomorrow, or I will be replaced by AI?
Yeah, it's true.
What's the first step to healing your relationship with money? But like healing, indeed,
Mhm.
not just fixing, like healing.
Mm, I would say the first step in healing your relationship with money is to get
Therapy?
well, therapy is usually a good answer for pretty much anything that is considered a deep wound or that it affects our functionality on a constant basis. But going back to this, the first step to healing your relationship with money is to get curious about yourself before you get disciplined. And
Wow.
let me explain this.
Tell me more, please.
When you would ask any person in the financial area, if you ask this, they would start giving you financial advice that's connected to action. Budget this, save that, don't drink coffee
Mhm.
from the coffee shop, delete subscription from apps, which are very, very good advices if you go down on it. But you cannot heal your relationship with money if you are not curious about yourself and your beliefs about money, your fears about money, because you cannot discipline your emotions. You have to feel your emotions. And if the emotional feeling of money is wounded, it's like budgeting is like, I don't know, putting cast on the on the wrong bone, you know? So there are some questions, general ones, not necessarily in this order, but they are good enough to start to think about yourself and get curious. Curiosity is about being the observer of your own self. So, what do I actually believe about money? Where does this belief comes from? Where does this belief come from? Does this belief still serve me today? Or whose voice about money speaks inside my head? If you go down this inquiry, a very um, relaxed one, a very honest and non-judgmental, is where you start to see the truth you accumulated so far about money. And you'll notice that the things you held on to as immovable truth about financial things are actually stories you picked up from the environment and that are no longer true, either to yourself, your personality, your current profession, or the year we are living in. Also, I would say take a bill, feel it, watch it, examine it, and see what does it mean to you? What do you emotionally tie it to? What does it signify for you deep down? And the most important question, I think, is overall, why do I want money? I want money to be like
Yeah.
everyone else. I want money to be able to afford things. I want money to have a relaxed life or to build a career that I'm passionate about. The why is usually at the core of our planning or decisions.
Yes, I think that this why is actually super
Mm,
important in whatever you decide to do with your life, right?
yeah. Knowing
Yeah.
why you want
Thank
money
you so
can
much.
actually change your money future, your financial future. Because the goal is not simply to make money. Even if money is a good resource and we love money, everyone loves money. The goal is to develop such a stable and healthy relationship with it
Yeah.
that's grounded in self-worth, in emotional freedom and in conscious choices.
Yes, it's true. Thank you so much, Aniela.
Thank you too.
It was such an interesting and super, super useful conversation. I can't wait to publish this episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels.
Thank you.
Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. And I hope many women benefit from our discussion.
Bye, lovelies. See you next time. Bye.